Welcome to the Parts and Labor Motorcycle Podcast. It's brought to you by Biltwell Inc. We're going to dive deep into anything motorcycle related. We're going to introduce you to some of the most interesting friends we know. We might even try to solve a problem or two. You got a question? That'd be cool. Send us a voice recording or an email. pod@biltwellinc.com. pod@biltwellinc.com. Here we are live and direct, Parts and Labor Podcast. We're here with a very special guest, Mr. Jace Hudson, Fast Life Podcast. Jace, welcome to our studio.
Thanks, bud. It's actually pretty sick, man. I like the vibe.
Well, thanks. Top of the bottom shelf. That's all we mess with around here at Biltwell. If you don't know Jace, then you must have been living under a rock for a minute. Jace just shared with us. He's done over 400 podcasts on his Fast Life Podcast, which to me is one of the best. Actually, it is the best, I think, motorcycle podcast. It's the one of the few that I listen to regularly in our space.
Yeah. I would say it's the most consistent.
Well, it's consistent and it's good, and he gets pretty crazy guests, high level guests. We're out here with washed up painters, with funny names and broke down land speed guys, and Jace is getting like, the Nesses of the world and a lot of other guys that wouldn't give us the time of day. So I think you only get to that point by paying your dues, and you've definitely paid your dues.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah. How did you get started paying your dues? Give me a little bit of your backstory. A lot of you guys that listen to his podcast probably know it, but if you listen to our podcast, you probably don't know nothing because you're a bunch of kooks. You shared a little bit with me the other night. What got you? Jace is a painter by trade.
Yes.
He's a motorcycle guy, but he got into it by painting, right?
Yeah, painting was the door opening essentially. So, roughly 2003, 2004, I kind of stepped into a motorcycle shop to go prep, paint work and stuff like that. I kind of grew up in a body shop.
You grew up in a body shop because literally grew up in a body shop. Your dad had one.
Yeah, my dad had one. My grandfather on my mom's side taught my dad how to paint and do shit. And so it was kind of like child labor, forced labor for the most part during the summers and stuff. But as much as I did not like it then at 15, I wanted to go rip around on the bicycle or skate or, whatever. I was stuck getting dirty, fucking putting, blisters on my hand and stuff, sanding and whatnot. So, but when I got into I learned a lot of stuff from I took and I was able to kind of subsequently develop a skill in it that I didn't even realize over the course of being forced to do it. And when I was looking for a career path later on, 21 years old, it was like, hey, there's this opening at this bike shop. I was into more import cars at the time, Nissans, things like that. But I knew how to sand. So I was like, hell, took the job. And then next thing you know, Biker Build Off was in there the next week filming for an episode. And I'm
literally in the shop you were working in.
Yeah. And I was pretty blown away. I mean, we're talking early 2000s. So, YouTube wasn't around, social media, it was chat rooms back then, not really anything else. So that was it was kind of eye opening. I thought, oh, this is cool. And I can make money. Like, hell yeah, let's do this. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. You mentioned some of the early bikes were like Rick Fairless.
Yeah.
Was he in that Biker Build Off or that kind of style those days?
Yeah. I mean, the TV choppers is what I like to call them to describe that era because it was, I think the TV stuff put it more out into the country. And then it just kind of like you were saying with the leather work in there, these people come in and they want the more outlandish stuff every time. And then it takes it to a whole nother level. Right. And yeah, it was Rick Fairless's bikes at the time. And he's famously known for crazy tie-dye paint jobs, which I crazily figured out how to do. And then that was what I was doing for him all the time is these, just acid trips, basically. You know what I mean?
They are acid trips. you could see his bikes from a mile away and you're like, it's a Fairless bike.
It's marketing, it's branding. It's not for everybody though, as we'd all come to find out.
Man, you mentioned those TV days. That's cool. That's where you got your start. Kids don't understand how exciting that was, what it meant to wait.
Catch Monster Garage.
Yeah, to wait for the new one to come out, to see some crazy stuff being done, even though, a lot of us grew up with, dads, uncles, grandpas that were mechanics, fabricators maybe. It was something about those guys making it cool. Man, shout out Jesse James, love him or hate him. Like that guy made dirty fingernails cool again. You know what I mean?
He made the trades cool.
Yeah, he made the trades cool. You
And
know, you could argue they're always cool. It takes somebody to really shine a light on it and be like, yeah, absolutely, this is cool.
Well, you got to think, man. I graduated high school in 01, and my world, what the high schools and what the narratives was being pushed onto my graduating class, if you will, was computers. Like, you got to go learn to code and be a computer science, and websites is all the rage. And there was no creativity in that. And I was a kid that like I was going to college, or I was going to go to college to be an architect. And, that was kind of like what I wanted to do, but I had all this skill, taking off fenders. So I knew how to use a ratchet and things like that. And then painting obviously was like forced, because we were painting front fenders to, Acuras and Honda, Altimas and stuff like that. So there's nothing cool about that. And then to me, it wasn't. Now I appreciate it a lot more. But if I would have grew up in a hot rod shop or a bike shop or something that was like showing me the other side of the coin of that world, I probably would have a different perspective. But literally, and I might have told you the other night, but Fast and the Furious, when that came out, it showed me that there was another side of that coin, that there were cool cars that are affordable to where I am, not like a WS6 Trans Am, like I can get my hands on a Nissan 240, save up a little money, get a Japanese motor, and it's turbo. The next thing you know, I'm kicking their butt. You know what I mean? So, then you add like Monster Garage, and you're watching all these people work with their hands and build, crazy things. And then all of a sudden you get in the motorcycle world and you go to an event, and because you're one of the practitioners of those type of skills, you're cool. And I'm like, that's actually pretty cool. Like, I don't know, maybe it's the wrong reason I want to get into something, but it feels good. You know what I'm saying?
No, it doesn't. It's you want to go to an arena where you're respected by other artists, other tradesmen. Forever the narrative in America is you got to do better than your parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's changing a little bit. Like, man, your dad's an HVAC guy, and he been sheet metal for a living, and he can make it all work, and he does it on a lift 40 feet in the air. Like, actually, your dad's kind of cool, dude. You might not know.
Exactly.
Now, I mean, I think your dad's this, might be a mom.
Well, yeah, he might do sourdough in the garage or something,
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Whatever. It's not the thing that floats
Yeah.
my boat, My dad was a truck driver. I grew up in Lake Elsinore. People have heard this before. On the weekends, dudes would pull in the 80s with their square body Chevy trucks, dually slammed with their jet boat, and they were going to go to Lake Elsinore and run as fast as they could for as long as they could. Like, that was the influence I had, And then my dad had some rentals, and rent them to club guys. That's who would rent houses in Elsinore in the 80s. That's still who rents houses in Elsinore, by the way. But we'd go to collect the rent, and they had flashy things, man. And I'm like, dude, flashy things are cool, Dad. Flashy things are cool. And then later on, I realized, actually, my dad's big rig truck, also flashy in its own little way, and kind of cool as well. And some of the Volkswagens we had, So it took me a long time to figure out, my dad was cool. Our parents are cool. They did cool stuff, work in the body shop. Like you said, there might not be any magic in sanding a 88 Toyota Camry fender at that time. But now you realize you got massive real estate that you're honing your skill. And you have to hone a skill to go work. It's easy to work on something, I know from experience, something like this big. It's hard to work on something that's this big or this little, and it's on a motorcycle, it's fine tuned. You're honing that point. And if you mess it up, it's worse quicker.
Yeah. 100%.
That's a cool story, I think. And again, most of our listeners probably didn't know that, but
I appreciate the upbringing that I had. I mean, but perspective wise, I didn't think it was cool until I saw it in other ways. You know what I mean? So I am thankful for it though, for sure.
Also, what that taught you was work ethic. Like, fender's this big, like, you're going to be there a minute. Yeah. Are you going to get bored? You're going to quit? Your finger's going to blister off and rub off, and you got no skin? you got this much more to go, Yeah,
there wasn't a lot of growing up, especially like as I've always like tried to put myself in ways to always continually learn stuff. And I was always a dude that couldn't get to work on time to save his life. Like, I just could not. I'm not a morning person, but I'm the dude that I'm locking up with you at the end of the day. Like, I'll stay, there's plenty of times I would just work past the time because I was like, maybe I was airbrushing something or sanding something or prepping something or putting something back together. And like, I want to complete that task. And then on the weekends, I would just show up and hang out at the shop because that's, as you know, the shop hang is sometimes the best time in the world. Just sitting on a couple roll around chairs in the shop, shooting the shit, you know?
Guys put away their stuff for work. They bring out their personal project, you know. You're working with this guy, you're like, man, this guy's a nerd. He ain't cool. And then he pulls off the sheet on what his bike is or his car. And you're like, oh, that's yours?
Yeah, it changes your perspective.
Yeah, man. You get quite the education doing that. And looking back is, you need perspective to figure that out. When you're a young kid, you just think, man, I'm at this job. I ain't getting paid no money.
Trust me, I wouldn't get no money.
Yeah, I'm breathing in all kinds of crap, you know.
But,
it's Mr. Miyagi 101, dude.
It is. And I mean, like,
learn karate, paint the fence, dude.
Exactly. Time, really was the factor in like time plus effort, makes results at the end of the day. Like, so if a lot of days or nowadays, I think painters and a lot of people can learn a lot of stuff through YouTube. So I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I think it's a great tool to have nowadays. I've taught myself a lot of things to do with photography and other areas of stuff that I'm interested in by watching YouTube. I wish that I would have had YouTube for certain things in the paint world early on. But it's still another one of those things that you got to put time into all of it. Even if you know the answer, you still have to put the time in to like get over those hurdles yourself and stuff, or to know what to look for in terms of finding an answer to something. I get a lot of people all the time that'll ask me how to do silverleaf. And I'm like, okay, well, what part are you on? No, how do you do it? Like the whole thing. I'm like, man, I can't answer that for you. But there's a million YouTube videos that'll show you how to do it. When you get to that spot on doing this that you're like hanging up on, it doesn't make sense on the video. I can help you there. I can answer that question. You know what I mean? Plus it shows me that you tried. You've tried to figure it out. You've put some time and effort in, and I'm willing to help you get past a hurdle as opposed to just give you all the business, up front. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've heard Hot Dog. People ask him what he's taught some painting classes and stuff, and brought some kids up. He's like, I heard people ask me, well, aren't you afraid these guys are going to take your eat your lunch? He's like, dude, I've been doing this for 50 years. It's physically impossible for them to catch up. I'll be dead by the time they get 50 years under their belt. Yeah. So no, I'm not afraid, because even if I show them all the secret sauce, they still got to hone it, and it's going to take a while, man. So YouTube will give them some secret sauce, but it's still not going to. You're not going to jump to the front of the line because you learned some trick. You're still going to take hours and days, the 10,000
Yeah, 10,000 an hour. And the other thing about like paint work that a lot of people may or may not get is that in the time is where you develop your style, and that takes time. No matter how good you might get at perfecting someone else's style, it's still not yours. And so your style is the collection of all your influences made into something uniquely different, even though there's familiarities in a lot of those areas.
I really like that observation.
Yeah.
Your style. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's something that, ever comes into play, or a lot of times doesn't pop into your mind. Am I copying something? Am I just trying to emulate somebody?
Yeah.
Or am I putting my spin on it? I think you got to be pretty good before you start putting your spin on it. You got to learn a lot of basics.
So, I mean, that's what was beautiful or beneficial about learning how to do this stuff before the internet, is that you can kind of copy OG Abel's, designs for your local market, and it's not going to come back to you across the internet like you're just straight ripping this dude off. Yeah. So I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say that I've never copied someone's stuff in my path growing up. But I will also say that, like, in the times that I've been inspired by someone, even if it might have came out close to theirs or not even at all, I'm always a dude that's like, yo, this painter right here, that bike inspired this bike, and I, at the end of the day, there's not much else you can do to pay homage to the inspirations you have other than just acknowledging it to your audience or your world where you got your ideas from. Yeah. I hear a lot of painters sometimes that complain about people not having a style or copying their stuff, but they also do 20 classes a year and they teach someone how to be just like them.
Yeah. You can't speak out of both sides of your
what I used to
like neck that way.
It's not as lucrative because most people that are willing to pay for classes are looking for the individual techniques that they want to kind of get good at. They're not necessarily trying to find themselves as an artist. And that's where I feel like conversations, when I've been asked to teach classes, I kind of find myself in the philosophy of things, wanting to talk about that more than trying to tell them how to palette a pinstripe brush, but that's just me. That you know what I mean? Like that, it's not a sellable class. You know what I mean? That's like that's a life journey type shit.
Right.
And yeah, that's what I always try to tell people, man. Like, there's a lot of great painters popping up right now, but most of the ones on the West Coast are obviously inspired by Buck Wild, Schultz, Valley Customs, Hot Dog to the OG. And then you see a lot of guys coming up, and a lot of their style is like that. And I'm not saying that to like talk any shit. I think that's part of the process, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with Instagram now is that a lot of guys get all these accolades and they get all this attention, and they don't think to evolve into their own style, or to see how to be different on their own. You know what I mean? That's just the general's observation. It's not one person I'm talking about. It's just like a collective overview of what I've seen a lot of going on with other.
Well, again, I think they need a lot of times it's the 10,000 hour rule before they've got enough experience and confidence to start to veer off a little bit, like, oh, it's pretty safe to, well, you can't copy really a Buck Wild paint job, but to try, it's pretty safe because that jet boat motif is, I love it, with mixed in a little late 80s, early 90s BMX.
Yeah. But it's like, even like the music and the style and everything in your life kind of will flow through the way you paint and do things. Like I'm super into chopper stuff right now. It's not an aesthetic that I've ever been a part of. And I love finding ways to be a student in my life. And that's one thing, looking at all the famous chopper painters that are out there. Like, I want to do something like that, but that's not my style. It's not my thing, but I want to evolve, and I'm trying to figure out how to take those things that inspire me and figure out how I can use what I know how to do to kind of develop what my version of that is.
Well, I want to say, not to jerk you off, you did really good with your first. Is that your first chopper?
Yeah, the purple one. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's a killer bike.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's a killer bike. I think it helped that you know when to stop on stuff because you are a painter. Just as important as what you say is what you don't say as well. With paint or with parts or whatever. Yeah. And so you didn't. Oh, I know all these tricks. I got to do it on every paint job. Or every bike. Man, you stopped, and that thing came out really good. And then I like. Not that I'm a chopper builder or any kind of builder, but I have enjoyed watching you be upfront about, man, this thing's hard to start. I ain't figured it out, figuring out all the stuff you figure out with every old bike has that little learning process, whether you could build the same motor to the same dimensions with the same parts every time, and it's going to be just a little bit different to start, and you change one thing, and then it's a little bit, things have changed, and so I like watching that you're honest about all that, and watching your journey and watching, I love watching dudes get stoked on choppers, because it's the rawest form of a motorcycle, it's caveman stuff, and you can't, I feel like dudes that have FXRs, Dynas, Softails, baggers, you can't appreciate that until you rode a chopper,
Yeah.
It's hard.
And I've noticed it's funny, bringing up the FXR community, a lot of the dudes I know that have been in that for a hot minute that didn't come from choppers. Maybe they were on Dynas or baggers or Softails, and they kind of have found something new and exciting in FXRs. I feel like some of them are starting to get like their eyes, a little chopper fever going on, where they're like wanting to try that out. And to me, I think that, the chopper thing is just like this, it's kind of a scary thing to get in form if you come from like where I was, like maybe more known for being a part of the performance bagger, the Dynas and FXR community. Getting into choppers, like there's no box. There's ideas or principles or like things to stick with styles of bikes, but there's no box as to this is the only tank you run. You have to run saddlebags to be a performance bagger. Like there's a real big open canvas. And when I was doing mine, like I didn't know I don't know what my style is in a chopper, but I was trying to take elements of the world that I'm from, that I enjoy, that I also trust, and put them in a chopper aesthetic. That way it would still look good to both sides of the fence. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The chopper dude's like, that's cool. And the Dyna dudes are like, that's cool too. You know what I mean? Not that I was doing it for them, but actually, yes, I was. I wanted my friends that helped me, in that process. I wanted them to be stoked about the bike that I built because it made me feel better. Like I took I don't know, I took their advice and I applied it in a way that was unique and different, you know?
Yeah, man. To me, choppers, it means no rules.
Yeah.
You know, you do whatever you want. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you want it to be kickstart, cool. If you want it to be electric start, it's not as cool. But
It is.
you can do that. You know what I mean? You can do that. You want to put a Jap motor in a chopper? It could still be a chopper.
Yeah.
You know, it's no rules. There are no rules. It's punk rock.
I do like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's your iteration. You know, to the umpteenth degree. Where okay, FXR. Okay, to be an FXR, dude needs to be an FXR frame. You know, so at least that. You know, even if you can argue Kenny Boyce or whatever, but you got to start there, you know. So there are a couple of rules, but chopper, man, there are no. What frame do you want? You know, producer Flynn always talks about he's going to do an upside down iron head. You know, I don't want to blow your cover. I know you've been working on it for a few years now, and I always tell him that's so dumb. But you know what? That's what Flynn wants to make on chopper. There's no rules. Doesn't matter what I say. Who am I? You know, like that's what Flynn wants to do for a crazy wild chopper. You know, and sometimes I think about it, I'm like, actually, it might be cool, upside down iron head.
Hey, it is like that, yeah.
But yeah, there's no rules with chopper, man, and yeah, I think your iteration of first chopper, man, it wasn't corny. Obviously, great paint, you know, and some subtle little bits. And
I was worried about the wheels.
Yeah,
that the wheels are what I was worried about the most, and the only reason, like, I love spoke wheels.
Yeah,
and I think they look the best on an old, you know, period correct or not chopper, but I have every intention of riding this bike across the country, and the wheels are, you know, spoke wheels and all that stuff. It's like something I just don't. I'm up for it. If it breaks down, I'm gonna be down to mess with it. But I'm also not trying to make it break down by having more prone breakdown things on it. So I built this bike with the intention of traveling on it. So there's a little bit of that, like that kind of dictated some of the things that I chose.
Flynn, what wheels are on your chopper? Mags.
Yeah.
Because, dude, if you want to ride, my chopper, Mags. You know, I agree with you. You know, you got a wheel, you got 60 places to pop your tube. Yep. You know what I mean? Each wheel.
Yep.
You know, it increases the odds. But again, that's the chopper you wanted to build. You wanted to build a chopper to not bar hops as so much as make miles. You know, just like when you had your FXR chopper, you know, it was set up to make miles. You know, there's some concessions you have to make, or some formulas you have to follow if you are serious about it. You know, I guess you could argue with an iPhone and whatever that now you can always get something air freighted overnight or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in a sense, like, the first version of a chopper, which that's always going to be up debate, was the FXR chop. And that was
a chopper, really, man. I should have gave you that.
Swing arm chop. That's what it was.
Yeah, still it's chopper.
But that bike was like an intentional thing to slow down and have something that I had just been looking at for years. And, you know, Scott 9, the Frisco FXR chop that was on the top of the hill, built 12 plus years ago or 15 years ago now, to be at Born Free a long time. He was just riding a Born Free. But there's this famous photo of him sitting with a Simpson helmet on, standing on the hill, Frisco on the tank, and I just like burned in my head, like, that is so cool. And I wanted that bike. And then when I had the opportunity to do the FXR Tour stuff, which I had started with my machinist, it was like the perfect time to implement that bike. And then that opened the gateway for me to want to dive deeper into choppers. My mentor and one of my closest friends, Main Drive Cycle, Corey, he's been, if you imagine like teaching someone how to play pool, a chick, and you're like behind them, you know, that's what he's like whenever he's teaching me how to weld. This is how you run the lathe. And it's just open. Like, as someone that's been in this industry for 20 something years, to find these old machines, lathes, torches, these primitive tools to what like most people are buying and putting in their garages today. Like, it's just opened up a can of worms of interest and enthusiasm and excitement to figure out how to use these tools to create stuff that's unique and one-off. And when you're making it by hand and bending it over a pipe and hammering it and all that shit, like, it makes you appreciate it a lot more than not than anything else. It just creates a lot of appreciation out of the person making it. Or at least that's what it's been for me. You know what I mean?
Well, you mentioned Main Drive. Who else has been influential in helping you, you know, hone your craft? You know, not early days, it's bike or it's car stuff. You're in a body shop, okay, learning some basics. but you're well past that point now. You've been doing this for a minute, you know. So
Yeah.
who's got you, helping you hone that samurai sword, so to speak?
I mean, in a nutshell, countless people over the years, and sometimes not in a good way, you know. But
Yeah, you can learn something from a lot of people, right?
like I said, I got my start in the motorcycle paint business through a shop called Other Side Customs out of Dallas. We're not we're not on good terms. Like, he doesn't like me, but I like him. That's why I said his name. Whatever. He's just old school
Shout
mentality.
out.
Old school mentality. You know, like if we're not on the same team, we're against each other kind of vibe. So I kind of respect that, but also that's why it's that way. You know, but and that was a main guy for a long time, and then I was on my own a lot for a while, and I think maybe that's where, you know, I probably feel the least amount of growth in my career and stuff was when I didn't have somebody that I was trying to learn something from, you know. And I remember the first dude that ever got me into FXRs was a huge inspiration for, you know, just helping me and almost holding my hand through that process was a guy named FXR Mike, or he used to go by that.
I was hoping you'd mention Mike.
Yeah, Mike was he's the first FXR I ever painted, and when he dropped it off, he just became my my shaman in that journey with FXRs. And dude, my first FXR changed my life in every. It changed that first FXR took me to Giddy Up. It took me to the first Born Free that I ever went to, which was 9. You know, it taught me a lot. I fixed that thing a lot on the side of the road on the way from Texas to San Francisco to here. And it really brought, it kind of gave me almost like a stamp of approval. Not that that's what it's about, but, you know, it felt good to be able to go from the bike culture that I was a part of and come into this culture and be accepted. You know what I'm saying? And feel like I put in some dues to get to that point. And, you know, Mike was best, you know, in my photography journey. I'm lucky to have some killers where I live. Tim O'Keefe was a big help of mine. He's famously done some crazy stuff in the chopper world.
I love Tim stuff.
Yeah.
You want to talk about, like, again, know when to hold them, know when to fold them?
Yep.
That's Tim.
And his philosophy of photography, I think, is what shaped like my, not that I'm there yet or not that I ever will be, but it shaped my direction in which I'm trying to take a lot of my stuff. And I think a lot of that is like shaped my my worldview in a way of, you know, seeing the world and trying to capture it and trying to interact with it and less trying to control it. You know what I mean? Because you want to photograph what exists, not manipulate it to be this cute little scene and then shoot it, you know? So trying to be aware all the time. So that's just kind of like some of the things that I kind of have picked up from him. You know, Corey from Main Drive was more or less a recent, you know, I did a podcast with him maybe 5 years ago when he built his first FXR, which was like a complete restoration. And then he's local to Dallas. And then when he built his first M8, which really changed the game in the M8 FXR world, because he was like the one that really made it simplified. And I think you could ask him, he's helped countless people. You know, obviously FXR division, Big Chris, Justin, you know, I'm wearing Torch's hat now. They're the ones that pioneered it. You know, I think Main Drive was one of the instrumental individuals that really mainstreamed it, maybe is the way to put it. Like I'm like you know, rattling off all these names of people, and I'm like scared I'm going to forget somebody that like really was helpful and whatnot. So sorry.
Yeah, don't take it personal if he forgets. I've kind of put him on the spot. But,
yeah.
Touching on it's I like hearing about, you know, some of those influences, and then it kind of tells a lot of your backstory, and those are all hitters. You know, I think Texas, you know, people love to shine a light on California, but I think Texas has a lot of real estate, and therefore a lot of bikes, and therefore a lot of, you know, guys that have been doing it for a long time, you know, and a lot of freedom. And guys that just, you know, motorcycle guys, man, we want to not be told what to do.
Yeah.
Texas is still the state to go to if you want to not be told what to do. So there's a lot of pioneers, you know, I think, and in that state doing it.
I think it's just a good, I mean, we have all year riding. It does get a little colder there for stints, but I mean, just like Florida, maybe that's an older, demographic of rider, but we have a good bike culture and community in Texas, and especially whenever I got into the FXR and Dyna world, before the Softails came out, we were all kind of connecting on that, and a lot of that stuff 100% was inspired by what was taking place out here. You know, thank God for Sons of Anarchy, right? Just spreading that California culture across the country.
Yeah, we'll love it or hate it, man.
Yeah.
There's sold a lot of vests, sold a lot of fairings.
Yeah, for me though, like I got a little bit I would say lucky. I used to fly to NorCal to paint bikes. Like I'd sometimes fly over the week for 6 months at a time. And what's crazy enough, I would fly up there to paint big wheel baggers. But yet the guy that owned the big wheel bagger would pull up on his DX or his FXR. You know what I mean? Because the big wheel bagger at that time, that up there in NorCal, you got the Delta, you have all the boats, and you have the sound systems on the boats. So the big wheel bagger was a way for them to have that sound and do all that stuff and be flashy on a bike. It was pretty big up there, to be honest with you. But I would be there working on this bike, painting this one. But I remember the first Dyna I ever rode was a 124 SNS, like insane Dyna, right? And I rode it, and I was like, oh my God, this is kind of what I'm missing, and then I started diving into that culture and kind of found it. Even when Sons of Anarchy was on, like I watched it, but it wasn't like, oh, I want to ride that bike they're on and look like that, but it was just cool to see motorcycling on TV. And for whatever wildness that it was or became, basically a serial killer at the end of it. And so what I did was I started like raising a flag, like a home base, like, hey, if you're into this, we started a bike night, and that bike night it's called T-Bar Tuesday, and it's been going on for almost 8 years now. And we found the little pockets of people all over the place that was into this style of bike. And then multiple friendships, businesses, marriages, a lot of things have come of that bike night since then. You know what I mean? So I don't know where we started on that, but
yeah, influences, and then where we go with that.
Yeah.
Social media makes that stuff a little bit easier to find your tribe. As corny as that sounds.
Well, back in the day, the social media was like Dynaholics.
Yeah.
Dyna Trash, homies up here in Temecula. It was like those repost pages in the early days of Instagram was kind of like how to find friends, you know what I mean? And who's got a cool bike, and they're right here, and then that, I don't know how popular they are now as what they used to be, Chop Cult, Jockey Journal, all these different things that would help you find the community that you're kind of looking for. That's the Instagram I miss, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little older than you, and for me, it was Jockey Journal, man. Yeah. And some guy would post and be like, it'd say, "Oh, Hemet, Temecula, Elsinore." Like, oh, I'm kind of in there, Maybe send that guy a message, like, you ever ride? What's going on? You'd see what he'd post about. Oh man, well on Jockey Journal, if you didn't talk about Harleys, you get thrown off. If you ever mentioned Honda, you're out. You know what I mean? So like, it was all Harleys, all choppers.
It was curated.
Yeah, it was curated. This old guy named Dragon in Florida was a total dick, jerk. He would kick you off, and but that's how you'd meet dudes. If you like to meet dudes, always the internet is good. But it was curated. Now it's a little bit easier, which is great because it leaves you more time. You meet your people quick, and then you can hopefully get out on the road with them.
But I mean, to counter that, easier doesn't mean better. I mean,
doesn't mean better.
The relationships you built over time always, it's almost like the quicker you become best friends, the quicker you're not going to be best friends.
Start fast, end fast.
Yeah. So
most relationships.
I feel that I truly miss, and I kind of, it sucks that I was in a motorcycle world, but I just completely blinded to, or just overlooked that whole culture that was going on that literally makes up my entire life right now. From finding out who used to have blogs back in the day to go have podcasts and do podcasts with them, to hear about it and how they got together, the Zach from Heavy, and, Todd Blueball and the dudes from Seattle, and, even Mike and Grant and the stuff they used to do. And it's like those kind of things it's the history of like what we all enjoy right now. And I find it very interesting to learn that and know why and how a Born Free happens, or the El Diablo run. Like when you were telling me that that whole story. I think you did on my podcast when you were on a couple years ago, you know?
Yeah. Well, like you said, we could make friends quickly on the internet, but sometimes those friends are quickly cold.
Yeah.
You meet them in person, or you go on a ride. I know you've been doing a lot of riding, well, for a long time, but the last couple of years, it seems like you've been burning it down.
Last year was
is it always been like that? Because it seems like you've been pretty steady on the road.
Well,
that will call those relationships too. Like, oh, you're a rider? Let's go.
Yeah. Last year's the least amount of riding I've done in like the last 7 years, which I didn't, like I said, building 2 bikes last year with one. Actually, I had 2 deadlines. I was building an FXR for Sturgis and the chopper for Born Free Texas. And so from literally June all the way to October, which is typically when I'm on the road doing traveling, recording podcasts, I was in the shop grinding, figuring out how to get these bikes done. And so the only trip I went on was last year whenever you helped me out with the chain situation.
Okay. That was it.
So that was it. And that was technically going to be an El Diablo run.
That was a big one though, right? You were like going to Sturgis after, or no?
No, that was year before.
Okay.
So the year before is when we did the podcast, and on the
man, time flies. I can't believe that was.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like that was last year.
So that one is I wanted to do a trip that was long, that took me all over the country to photograph and hopefully, and still in the works, but hopefully put together like a photo book of that trip, which I was fortunate enough to feel like I've got a decent body of work photographically to make something.
Yeah.
But what's weird is the further removed from that trip, whenever I think about it or talk about it, it's almost like it changes how I feel about the trip. Because when I was on it, I did not enjoy it. It was a crazy thing to be sitting on the coast of California and some of the most beautiful places and like just be thinking of home, It's like I put that whole trip on a pedestal for a year, and then I'm finally on it, and I'm like, man, why are you not stoked right now? And it made me like have to go back and think about a lot of stuff. But yeah, that trip was, now I'm very fond of it. Now I kind of look back on it like it's almost like having breakdowns. In the moment, you're like, dude, this sucks. Oh my God, it's so stressful. But then the further removed you get from it, the more of a good time you felt like it was.
Yeah, man, I always say a lot of times on these trips, like the best part is getting ready for the trip and then talking about it later. Sometimes the trip sucks. Him and I, we went to Alaska. Dude, it rained every day for 30 days.
Oh, yeah.
And it started the second we got off the boat, and it did not stop until we like crossed back into America, you know. It was, and don't get me wrong, it was beautiful. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Now, but when it was going on, it was like, dude, you're wet and cold the whole time, and kind of going slow and not really opening it up. Can't see what's going on because it's raining. A little bit afraid, apprehensive. Flynn went off out into the woods on his bike. All of us had a couple get offs.
Yeah.
But now, it's awesome. And like you, I'm not a photographer, but Flynn's a videographer. Our friend Jeff is an amazing photographer. Mm-hmm. We get to go back through those pictures.
Yeah.
And then you remember the good times, the bad times.
Yeah. The pictures,
they
trigger memories and experiences, right? A video can do the same thing, like in a fashion, but I find myself looking more at photos to remember things rather than videos sometimes. Like, I don't know. I could look at a photo for hours, but I can't watch a video over and over and over again. It just feels kind of creepy, Yeah. But yeah, on the point of rain, man, like I always tell people that I've ridden Lolo Pass twice, and the first time I ever rode it, it poured the entire time. Yeah. But the river was at the top. It was raging. It was a weird, different experience that I actually enjoyed more than the next time I did it when it was dry, and I'm not saying it was better, but somehow in my head, it felt more, maybe the rain and the slippery roads had me more engaged in everything. I don't know what it is, but it just made, and then we got to the end of it. We were headed back into Idaho route, and there's like a small town, and we all pulled over and took our clothes off and threw it in a dryer. And maybe it was that hang at the spot in our boxers. It was like, that made it feel so special and whatnot. You know what I mean? But like, I see people a lot that rain will dictate whether or not they're going to go ride their bike. And look, if it's raining, I'm not going to ride the bike night. There's no point. But if I'm planning this trip to go across the country and it's raining the day I'm leaving, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just how it's got to start. I mean, can't really back out of that. And if you do, I don't know if you really like bikes, man. I don't know if you like this stuff.
Yeah. No. Like you said, bike night, easy one to skip. Big trip that you've had planned for months. No, you're going.
Yeah, it's just going to be what it is.
Or you're in the middle of nowhere and you're like, man, I got to go home. What
Yeah.
am I going to do?
Yeah, if you have the luxury of like staying an extra day, that's cool. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not looking for problems on the road. I'm not looking to go ride through a hurricane, but sometimes it happens. You just got to get through it.
Well, yeah. And if you want to ride somewhat of a custom motorcycle, these are things you're going to encounter. If you want to ride a Harley Davidson, it could be bone stock. You're still going to have to deal with breakdowns. They're hunks of junk.
Yeah.
We don't ride them because they're reliable. Those are called Hondas. We ride them because it makes our wiener bigger.
Yeah, at least in our heads.
It's good for attracting dudes. That's why I ride them.
Dude, yeah, they're dude getters, man.
Dude getters for sure.
Yeah.
Man, you mentioned Lolo. We've ridden Lolo. I want to say it was raining as well. Great area. What are some of your other favorite roads? I know you've ridden a lot. I know you've done a lot of East Coast. We've done a little bit, but
I'm not as much East Coast as I wish that I had.
I feel like you talk about some stuff over there a bunch.
I mean, I've done the mains. I've done like all the states. I've done the obvious stuff. Blue Ridge Parkway and all the Smokies and New York and stuff like that. But I haven't ridden like I have out west. Out west. My wife's family's from out here. I have so many friends out here, and I was just talking with Gabe about this earlier today. It's like I come out here more because I can couch surf, because there's not enough money, especially if you're doing multiple trips a year. There's not enough money to be staying in a hotel room every night.
Come on, man. You got that big podcast money.
Oh, shit. I mean, it was big back in the day.
Come on.
When everybody had their COVID checks. But now that inflation hasn't gone up for us over on the podcast side of things yet. But,
looking to make $1 over here. We ain't made one. But, yeah, I understand.
It's like the YouTube monetization. There's like a threshold you cross, and all of a sudden money starts to kind of happen. But, yeah, when you're traveling, man, like, especially when I'm doing this, like, I'll go out on the road for 2 weeks and, try to like ride, which is something I enjoy to do. But doing podcasts with different people and staying with different people, like, really makes the trips that I do so much better, honestly, because I'm riding to people.
Well, I think that makes your podcast more meaningful too to us, the consumer, just so like, that's why I like,
Yeah, I don't do,
that's why I like them.
I don't do over the phone, and I don't do Zoom calls.
I like when you meet them on their home turf,
And that's something that, like, as like the technology of the products that we can use to make podcasts have gotten better. There's ways that we can do it that doesn't have as much stuff that we need to take. So, and I'm trying to ride this chopper at least here once this year. And so, but I still need to do podcasts on the trip. So I got to figure out how to put a huge camera, a tripod, some little lavalier mics or something to be able to record the podcast, get a video podcast. And I need clothes, a potential jacket,
tools.
Parts. Yeah, for sure. So it's like, but that's the fun in it, the challenge to figure out how to pack out. Man, like you said, sometimes before the trip, like nerding out on like what to get or buying stuff online, your tool roll or little pouches, little gas cans, and like whatever you're going to need to kind of, just preemptively like have all the stuff you need to make the trip possible. Fortunately, I've never ran out of gas on any trips, which that could be a problem on this chopper with like I think it's got like an 80-mile range on the tank, which is not too bad compared to some of my friends, but
still pushing it. I think Flynn's tank his is always like the smallest tank. So it's like, where's Flynn? 80 miles. Where's Flynn? Where's he at? Oh man, we got to go back.
Yeah.
So it's could be worse. Could be better.
To me, that it makes, like, I've done a lot of cross countries on baggers, on FXRs, Dynas even before that, Softails, and it's it's hard for people if they've never done it before, but once they've done it a couple of times, it's not hard anymore. And I think that doing it on more difficult bikes is where the challenge of it is what I'm kind of like, I don't know, in love with right now. Right. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like I do these podcasts with a lot of people on various levels of how long they've been a part of this culture. And not in a spiteful way, but when you have an old man talking about how they used to do it back in the day, I can never relive how they did it with no phone, very little, much less gas stations and ability to fix whatever's going on.
Raw dogging it.
But
for real.
Yeah, but I mean, what's holding me back from riding a hardtail motorcycle across the country? Realistically, it's just you, so it's you overcoming like all the things that could happen or may happen or might not happen. It's like, I've had many problems on the road. It's like, I love that person I turn into once the problem happens. It's like MacGyver,
Yeah.
Literally, I'm at the top. We left Palm Springs, had a crazy time in Palm Springs last year. I'm at the top of the hill. My kickstand breaks. And I'm like, shit. All right. Call my buddy Frank from Speed Dealer. He overnights a new kickstand to my aunt's house in Venice. All right, that problem's solved. I can lean it on some walls for the next day. Not a big deal. Then when I get down at the bottom of the hill, coming over this way, the chain's just clicking. I'm like, oh hell. Well, then I thought of you, and I'm like, hey man, y'all have like a place I can like swap a chain out. You have tools. Maybe I can find one or lube this thing or something. And then, you were able to help me out. Hell, you threw me basically the keys to the shop and said, hey, hit the button on the way out. You know what I mean?
Luckily, guys from Texas have a good social credit score with me because I'm like, man, I don't really know this guy, and I got to go. So I'm going to just leave you in my shop. I hope you don't steal any guns or anything important.
Yeah.
But, and I couldn't help you. I'm like, I got to go too.
You had to go something to do.
You can figure it out. You're a smart guy. You got here. But
yeah, but I mean that. I mean, I knew how to do it. I knew how to solve the problem. We solved the problem back on the road, and I'm still rocking that chain today.
Yeah.
And so like, those are things that like, I think a lot of people can figure out how to do that over the time.
Yeah, man, in life, you think your breaking point is right here. Usually it's right over here.
Yeah.
You got another 70%.
Yeah.
But you never know that if you don't get there. You know what I mean? If you don't put yourself in that situation, especially nowadays, Yeah. You can get Uber Eats all you want. Get your oil changed at, Quickie Lube. You buy a Toyota, you don't ever have to pop the hood probably.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know those things. But go on a chopper, you're going to find out real quick.
Yeah.
Go on a custom anything motorcycle, you're going to find out real quick. And it's not like you pull this bike into the dealership and they fix it for you.
Yeah, they're going to know what to do either,
You know?
Well, I mean, on another thing, it's like just traveling on motorcycles or doing like overnight weekend stays. I feel like that's like the true, like if you've never done it before and maybe you're new to motorcycling, once you stay overnight somewhere with your boys, maybe it's a bar, maybe it's Idlewild or Julian, or maybe you take it a little further and go out to Havasu or whatever, it like, I think it more cements this world and culture into you than like if you're just a weekend guy, going to Julian and then going home or, whatever. Like, I just feel like that overnight stay and the mentality you have with your buddies going into it, it like opens the pathways for it to really get into your veins. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that's when you become a Dave Man painting.
Yeah.
And when you get you get that feeling for just a second.
Yeah.
You ride through, if you come on EDR, and man, you're not way out there, but there's a couple stretches you can definitely run out of gas. And you're in the middle of nowhere, dude. And sometimes there's no traffic, and sometimes there's a big rig passing you going 100. Well, you're in that stretch, and you're like, man, I'm in a Dave Mann painting right now. You know what I mean? Or, again, Dave Mann, you're in the garage, you're working on your bike, you're daydreaming of the next big run, just that other Dave Mann painting where they got the big runs, Laconia, the big one, his bike, they got written on the wall. They're all looking forward to it. They're all working on their bikes. You're thrashing together. Like, again, you're in a Dave Mann painting, that feeling that a lot of people, you might get that with other hobbies or sports. I don't know. Model airplanes might give it to you, but motorcycles give it to you, you know, and
because you earn it.
You earn it. Yeah. You're packing for a trip, dude. Okay. This is stuff I have to bring. Yeah. Non-negotiable. This is stuff I would really like to bring.
Yeah.
Might not fit. That stuff, maybe, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And you start going through, and that's how you start packing, and you only learn this. You only learn that stuff that you have to bring by doing it a few times.
By doing it, yeah.
Because what I thought I needed was an iPhone charger maybe the first time, and what I really needed was a multi-tool and a chain breaker.
Yeah. I
And
probably didn't need 2 more pairs of shoes to change.
Definitely not, dude. And never as many socks and underwear as you really need, probably either. That stuff you can wash and reuse, flip them inside out.
Or just go to Walmart and buy a new pack.
Yeah, that's the way, man.
Yeah.
That's I think that's Glenn Danzig 101. Just throw that stuff away. But you don't learn that stuff until you do it, and then you can see what you can really get by with, and put down some long days with your buddies, and you could eat the crappiest meal at the worst diner. But after a long day and it's hot,
Yeah.
and you had something that was cold, or it was cold and you had something that was hot. It's
Yep.
like, this is the best. I love this
Yeah.
place, Tell your friends about it for years.
And that's exactly it, man. It is a Dave Mann painting. And what's crazy is I have a whole wall of like posters in my shop of just Dave Mann from Easy Riders, right? And there's usually two trains of thoughts when people come in to see it. Like one, they're like, oh yeah, dude, I had an experience just like that. That's my favorite one. And then there's another guy that'll come in and go, man, I'm just not into those bikes. I'm like, yeah, but do you see what that bike's doing? Have you not had that experience?
Yeah, it's not about the bike, really.
Yeah.
It's timeless. It still carries on. You can insert a soft tail into a lot of those.
Well, I think what that tells me about that guy is that he hasn't been out on the road enough or had enough experience to where he's seeing through that surface layer, right? And because once you have, you could be a diehard bagger, dude, but you can easily see the situation, the chain coming off or the flat tire with the storm coming.
Yeah.
Any of those, right?
Love it.
And that's where I think that, like, I don't know, I just wish people would, it's a generalization. It's not like that everybody's like this, but, I came into this thing on a different bike that I don't really care for anymore. And I've found the FXRs and the choppers through like other people's passion and trying to figure out why you like this bike so much. And then as I learned, it made me love them even more, and it's just to me, it's about always being a student. I want to say that I have some like core values and some core beliefs, but I'm also trying to be as malleable as possible with always trying to be integral and having some form of my word means something kind of shit stuff. You know what I mean? So, but I always want to be malleable. Like if I think of it one way and then I come hang out with you and your world is showing me another perspective about how I can do this motorcycle thing, like I'm gonna try it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, motorcycles keep you malleable because there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a better way, but there's more than one way.
Mm-hmm.
And especially choppers, there's so many different iterations of a motorcycle. And you realize that when you hang out with dudes, when you guys like, well, I run my throttle cable always through the forks. And the other guy's like, well, I never run mine through the forks because, oh, okay. Both worked. You both got here, And
growing up in Texas, like there's a lot of dirt biking that goes on out there, but it's just not that prevalent in where I grew up. Right. And so out here, you take a dirt bike, probably 50 miles somewhere and you can ride it all over the place you want and camp there too. Right. So dirt biking is the one thing I never really got into, riding on dirt. It's not that I don't like it. It's not that I wouldn't try it one day, but if there's any motorcycling that I haven't had like a huge desire to go check out, it's riding off road. Every once in a while, I might get a bug and then I'll watch some videos. I'm like, I ain't trying to cross rivers and stuff like that. Like, I'm good. Give me some concrete, man.
It'll change your life. That's the dirt getting out there. It's just like a chopper. It just slows things down a little bit more.
Yeah,
And it's one of those slow times that really.
I'm open-minded.
When you absorb all that stuff, you know, I think that's why you said you like pictures maybe a little bit is, you can really reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Life is so crazy. Everything's moving so quick. The scroll. Yeah. TikTok made it times 100. My stepson's like, I can feel it frying my brain. Yeah, dude, I can watch it fry your brain.
Yeah.
And these things just kind of force you to be in the moment, because if you're not in the moment, you're in the marbles real quick, you know what I mean? Or you're broke down and you ain't fixing it if you're not in the moment, and we need things. I need things that put me in the moment so that I don't miss them, If not, it's another day went by. What did I do? I don't even remember, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So motorcycles, without even taking a photo, I'm not a photographer, but I could get that little snapshot. Remember, I try to like mentally, when we got off the boat in Alaska and it just started pouring and just running down, the back of, like I mentally will never forget that, and there's just some of those things that you just kind of freeze frame them and you save them forever. And that's something that maybe people that ride motorcycles get some other way, but we get them by getting out on the road. I'm not a mechanic, but I will fiddle with things so that I can get on the road, man. You know what I mean? That's the goal, I think, is getting out there.
Well, you don't have to be a professional at any of this stuff. And the road, the same way a road is going to finish your bike build and let you know what works and doesn't work, it'll finish you out so you know how to do this. You'll learn so much in that trial and error, almost like the school of hard knocks, if you will. And I find that, like, I try to tell some of the guys that come around that are maybe not super enthusiastic about turning wrenches on their own bikes. I'm like, man, like you can, it's not that hard. I mean, for one, these motors are tractor motors for the most part, right? Yes, there's some like precision that takes place in some of this stuff, but like, you know, learning how to just work on your bike is like something, it's a rite of passage in a way. You need to get a set of tools, learn how to take things off, learn how to maintenance your bike. They don't even put that in the motorcycles anymore. You just get a toolkit and a book that that showed you how to maintain it, check your belt tension, things like that. Nowadays, it's like it's just non-existent. You know what I mean?
Get a key fob.
Yeah, if you're lucky. Yeah. I mean, you don't even get two anymore unless you get a CVO.
Yeah, that's true. I've had to buy one. You only get one. Yeah, if you don't know, again, Jace has a very successful motorcycle podcast. I like it because of a lot of the talent you've had on there. And one of my, I think the interview that I really caught my attention that you did, that I'm like, yeah, this guy gets it, is when and this was a while ago, when you had Max on there.
Oh, dude.
And Max,
yeah,
the best storyteller, most genuine guy, does this because he loves it. You know, I love the Max interview you did. If you guys don't know that episode, look up the Fast Life podcast with Max Schaff. You've done a couple now with him.
No, I've only done one with him, but man, to be completely honest with you, I go back and listen to that podcast every once in a while.
I do too.
And he so eloquently put certain scenarios of riding a chopper to where when I'm riding my chopper that he told me 3 years ago or 2 years ago, however long it was, that when I'm riding it, I'm remembering or I'm thinking of it that way. Like, man, Max talked about this feeling and now I'm experiencing it. So I'm with you on that one. That's one of my top 5 of all time. You know what I mean?
Good at putting the feelings into words.
Yeah. And the way he talks, it's genuine. Yeah. You know, he's nothing. He's just whether it's the skateboarder in him or the chopper dude or biker in him, I don't know which one it is, but those two together make a really rad dude that I'm inspired by a lot of times. And fortunately that has opened up a line of communication with him and I, which I honestly, bringing it up, I haven't reached out to him in quite a while. I need to see how things are going for him. But when he was on the Momoa's like on the Rome show, I text him because that was one of my favorite episodes of that whole series. I was like, dude, that was an awesome episode. So happy for you. And that was, I think, the last time we talked, actually, unfortunately, but I need to reach out to him again. He was busy at Born Free this year, so I didn't
he's always busy at Born Free.
Shake his hand. But I always buy shirts from him that are too small for me because one day I'm going to lose some weight. Okay. And then there'll be brand new shirts for me.
Okay, that's a good business plan. I like that. Put that on the list. For buy shirts that are too big. I'm gonna buy them that are too big because I want to get big one day. Yeah. I love the Max episode. Yeah. Max comes to my swap meet. Man, probably twice a year, he hits me off with a good story. I'm like,
just pull the chair up and sit down and live through it.
So good. So I that was one that I got lucky and I fumbled into. A lot of times I'll listen to podcasts by who's the guest. I follow 10 podcasts and I'll just wait till I get a good guest, like the 9 Club skateboarding, which I stole their intro. I always steal it. I wait till I get a guest that I'm really interested in. You know what I mean?
That's how it is. I mean, when you make podcasts, I think at first you think, oh, everybody's going to listen to every one. It's just not the case. So that's why accepting that and realizing that I want to have podcasts that kind of cover the gambit of all the interests that I have so that, the guys that are in the performance baggers, I got some good guests for them. The chopper dudes, the photography guys, the fabricators, the painters, the, influencer, brand ambassador, YouTubers, whatever the case. Like, I try to just make sure that like I see some point of interest in some way we can communicate and tell or have a conversation, and then I just run with it. I mean, as good as Max is, I've had equally as bad podcasts that I would actually release. Not necessarily bad like talking or whatever, just like, man, we just did not vibe on this thing. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I'm new to this. We got 20 in the can. You got 400 in the can. sometimes the magic just ain't there, man.
It's not.
You know, I don't know if we didn't leave the door open long enough and it didn't come in, or when I walked in, maybe it's me and the magic went out, you know, but sometimes it ain't there. And I always try to, like, you know, do a little bit of homework, you know,
Yeah.
and
Well,
get some questions
it's like
that I wonder about, but it don't always come through, man. So don't be, obviously you don't beat yourself up, but
no.
I'm learning, you know, that it's not as easy. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be easy, but
Well,
what other, go ahead.
Well, yeah, just on that, it's just literally like you never know, because I try to tell them it's not an interview at the beginning, because when they think of it as an interview, they answer the question and they stop.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought you were going to elaborate a little bit more. And so there was like, the more I let them know that, and like, hey, look, man, we're just having a conversation. I'm going to ask you some questions. You give me the long form version of it. And while you're talking to me, I'm going to find new things I want to dig into, you know, and then it helps like prolong it. And I always say this is like, if you don't interrupt them, they'll tell their life story in 15 minutes. And we're talking, you know, a Dave Perowitz, you know, if you don't guide them. So there's a level of it where a lot of times I try to always keep this in mind that, you know, when I do have a bad podcast, I try to take responsibility for it, to realize that I didn't prep them. I didn't do enough of my own homework to keep this thing going long enough, or I don't know. Just I try not to blame anybody else for things like that, but it is kind of their fault sometimes.
It is, but I learned with my my little silly YouTube thing.
Yeah.
Shout out Fool's Gold Junk Show YouTube. That I didn't want me to be on it at all. Like, I just wanted to show up at some dude's shop and have him tell his story. As you mentioned, though, he'll tell it in 12 seconds or 120 hours.
Yeah.
But it won't. A lot of times it would be all over the place, and it just wouldn't work out. You know,
You're a conductor. That's how you're getting it through.
Begrudgingly, I had to become, on that little series I do, a conductor. You know, and on this stuff, I agree with you, and I think that's what makes the successful guys shine, and the guys that kind of stink at it not be able to get the story out of. It could be the best guest.
Sometimes a dude just needs to really truly know you before they'll open up.
Yeah,
you know, and
that makes
trust
sense.
me trying to going from the performance bagger world into the chopper world, like I would get an audience through mutual friends, but they wouldn't quite open up the way, because am I the vulture coming in to steal all this culture, or am I really a dude that's interested, a student of it, if you will?
Yeah.
And so, and I notice a difference in it, you know, and I try to always respect the communities that I get to share, you know, the scenes, whatever that may be. You know, it's like in essence, I am kind of exploiting different parts of the motorcycle culture. Exploit seems and feels like a bad word, but it's naturally, it's literally what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, as an outsider watching you, it feels natural, and you're upfront about it, and you don't ever, like, again, back to your chopper build, you're not like, yeah, this is how it's done, kids. You know, take note, grab your pencil. You know, you're like, I don't know, is this how it's done? Because, man, this bike's hard to start. You know, and I think it's, you know, it comes across very altruistic and honest, and so for me, it makes me want to watch it.
Yeah.
Back to Max. Max is the one that said, like, hey, dude, you're not going to fake the funk skateboarding, dude, because I'm going to take you to the skate park, and if you can't drop in, everyone here is going to know you're a poser. I don't care if you got the right Vans on with the coolest T-shirt, you know, and choppers are kind of the same thing. You might show up with the cool panhead, but if you can't get it to start or you can't keep it running, like, we're going to know at the worst in a day or two, we're going to know, like, you bought that thing or you won it in a raffle, and you haven't spent very much time on it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but, like, don't show up acting like, you know, like you invented the Magneto.
Yeah.
Kook. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So you can put that in the sizzle. You talked a little bit about podcasting, man. There's 10,000 hours. No one's going to come creep on your stuff. You got any, maybe advice if a kid did want to start a podcast or get into photography? You know, because I think your photography thing's pretty cool as well. You've been putting some hours in there.
With
he
podcast,
just gave up. He walked in the room. He's like, "Hey, throw away all these cameras. You want this thing over here? We have that thing in a box."
Yeah.
You know. So he tuned us up right away.
The podcast thing, I think the equipment. There's enough YouTube videos out there to kind of navigate what you need to get for that world. But you got to have a clear intention of what you plan to do with your podcast. You know, like, to be fair, like, my format for my podcast is just classic OG Rogan. You know, sit across the table, shoot the shit, just play the game. Sometimes it's an origin story. Sometimes it's like catching up, so we ain't seen each other in a while. Sometimes it's this, but to be fair, like, it's kind of easier, or has been easier for me, because I've had a 20-year, or at the time a 15-year stay within the motorcycle industry, working with brands and having relationships, so that when I started my podcast, I had access to, you know, Arlen Ness and, you know, Cut Rate and Simpson Motor, like, all these brands, right? If you're just a guy in the middle of the country, like, you have to find a unique way to do this, or have a very unique perspective. If it's going to take off, you know, I mean, not trying to gatekeep on that thing at all, but if you live out here, it's probably easier because you have access to a lot more guests to have on, if you want to go the guest route. But if you just want to be the guy talking about what's going on in the motorcycle and give your insight, that's another option.
That's going to be hard to do. You're going to carry your own podcast all by yourself, especially if you limit yourself to motorcycles or even, you know, car culture.
Yeah.
That's going to be.
And I mean, there's tons of dudes on YouTube that do that. I mean, they technically are forms of podcasting, but, like, I wouldn't necessarily say they are. But that's just something that, like, hey, if you want to be married to all these statements that you put out there, you know, then, you know, that's a way to do it. So yeah, just finding what do you really want to do? Just you and your buddies drinking Coors Light and getting hammered over the weekend and having a loop conversation that keeps going back and forth feels great. And you think, oh man, we could have been podcasters. And, like, in a sense, I
think that's how a lot start.
That's how, unfortunately.
You get on Amazon, you buy that stuff, like you said, after a couple tall boys.
But it's also why there's so many of those things on Marketplace to buy podcast equipment. Because but at the same time, with that advice, I'm also like, dude, jump in, and maybe too much preparation will limit you from ever seeing what this could be. So you really have to take your own judgment on that. I would just say, try to have a clear focus on what you want to talk about and where you want to go with it. If I try to stay away from politics, religion, those things you don't bring to the dinner table, and, you know, play that route. And then as far as photography, man, like, photography is an amazing hobby to have, just to help you see the world differently, see people differently, see everything differently. But sometimes if you're doing it for, like, I'm going to be a great photographer and make a lot of money, it's not really the case. Like, there's not a lot of opportunity in the world to get paid with shooting photography.
Yeah.
So it has to be something you're doing for yourself. And I think that if you do that for yourself over time and build a body of work, opportunities may come from that, you know? Or, I mean, there's this chick, Bree, out here that runs around shooting. Absolute killer photography. And she did the exact opposite, I think. Just came out, started hitting the brands, doing the shoots, and kills it. And I actually would sometimes go look, that's a good shoot.
Oh, she used to work for Royal Enfield?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, just kills it, you know? Great shoots, great at everything. So I do it for the love of it, and I'm not to knock anybody that's doing it for the hustle of it, because if I could make money with photography, I'm sure I would do it. But when you're making money with photography, it's usually, hey, shoot this thing. Well, when I like to go out and shoot what interests me. And so to me, it's still a hobby, and I haven't taken any money for it, so it's not a job yet. You know what I mean?
If you want to make money in photography, I'm pretty sure you become a wedding photographer.
OnlyFans, dude.
And it's or OnlyFans.
Yeah.
I think they shoot that themselves.
No, what you do is you just get you a bunch of chicks and shoot all their content for you, or you shoot all their content.
Flynn, take notes.
Yeah, just shoot all their content and then just start their OnlyFans page for them, and then just give them a cut. Okay. It's a new form of pimping.
Sounds like you thought about this.
Oh, dude, my wife would let me. I'd be down, dude. It's where the money's at.
It's where the money's at. Or wedding photography. But I think, yeah, man, but that's going to be a job. You know, I mean, I could be passionate maybe about some of those things. But, yeah, it's going to be a job. If you're passionate about motorcycles, probably sooner or later you get good at motorcycling or whatever aspect you're channeling that passion towards. You know, it takes that because it takes work, you know.
Yeah, time and work. And, dude, like, one of the things that I loved, and I kind of got this from that old 21 Days Under the Sky video, when I never knew who Tom Fugel was until that thing, and then I did all this research and deep dives. But seeing him photograph all the stuff he used to do with his club throughout the 60s and 70s and stuff, and I have some, books that were kind of distributed through like channels from those photos and stuff. And to me, whatever life this is I'm living, just be able to capture it and, say it is, you know, David Mann has a body of work of all these paintings he's done, and I'm probably at some point going to have a body of work of all these experiences and, stuff through photography that maybe it'll be somewhere one day, maybe a book, maybe this, or maybe it'll be, at a swap meet one day. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just do it because like documenting it, capturing it is, it feels good, and it's, I like it better than my phone, just snapping that stuff.
Yeah, so you said you got plans for maybe a book putting together. It's centered around the trip you took, or it's just a culmination.
Multiple. Like I want to do one centered around the trip, and that's kind of like the one that like I think is what I owe everybody I talked to this about. I owe to get that out of the way or do it. But I mean, it's like anything. Once you do it for the first time, I think it opens up the pathways for you to know how to do it more regularly and do stuff. And then taking some ideas that I've had to find a way to put together some unique books or whatever. I mean, one of my favorites over the past was like a Cicero. He used to do these, what was his brand called? Godspeed.
Yeah.
And these little thick books, and he just traveled the country, and they're all black and white, cropped crazy. But like, I literally have all of them, and I'll sit on my couch, put some music on, turn a little light on, and just flip through them. Seen them 100 times.
Yeah. And
I'll get inspiration and whatnot. So, I try to find all the old books from bike clubs and culture, and especially photography based ones, old magazines, little zines people try to start up, all that stuff.
Man, that stuff's obviously influential because even the mainstream has picked up on it. We got bike riders, movie based on, the Chicago Outlaw Club, so even normal people or people that don't ride motorcycles, that stuff's moving to them.
Yeah.
And I would wager that it's more moving to a guy like you if you like motorcycles. Those pictures. Dave Mann just channeled a few of them.
Yeah.
A few images. You go to the swap meets. You ever bought an old motorcycle? A lot of times it comes with photos, man.
Yes.
It's powerful. Whoever's been caretaking on that motorcycle for how many years thought it important to keep the photos with the bike.
Yeah.
And man, it's heavy. Last year me and my buddy Al Boy Sick Al, we were digging in the desert in some old broke down school buses, picking bike parts out of, a pretty crazy little spot.
Yeah.
And man, we find the photos, and it's like, man, the photos, that's where these parts came from, is this bike. Here's the bike, man.
Yeah.
Here's the club, here's the party. It gets heavy, and that's, and that's the kind of stuff I think a lot of us, we're chasing when we're out on the motorcycle. We're like, man, if I could get that feeling for just a hot minute, I'll remember it,
Well, there's, not to be political or anything like that, but there is always like people that want to try to remove the past motorcycle cultures that existed. Whether it's club related stuff or just the way people thought back in the 60s, 70s, 50s, whatever, 80s. But to me, it's like, it's all part of this thing, and good or bad, take it all with it. It's what shaped who we are. A lot of us don't, whatever, we're not certain ways anymore because, society has changed, but it's still part of the culture. And I think you can find a lot of inspiration moving forward by looking backwards sometimes. And even like as early as the 2000s, like the way the stoke that you guys had back in 07, 08, when they were starting, El Diablo or this brand, or, Cycle Zombies and Born Free guys and swap meets and blogs, like that excitement, man, is like, I guess I'm attracted to that stuff, because the jump off, the excitement for motorcycles and whatnot. And it's cool whenever I talk to someone about their old blog and they're like, man, like it's like they remember it and they kind of want to do it again. But the world's kind of moved on to new forms of connecting, and it really just doesn't have the home that it used to have. But man, the simplicity, the cool thing, people clipping out old Easy Rider magazines and scanning them and putting them in a blog, like that kind of stuff, I think is a way to, I don't know. I didn't get to experience it. I'm just like reliving through the stories, I guess, that I've heard, but that would be cool to have now. Because I'm talking about old, man, back in the day when it was just like 6 repost pages on Instagram and we got to meet each other through that. It was so sick. And, now what's the next 10 years? How are they going to meet? Like, what's going to be their, well, I saw this dude make a TikTok. He was dancing on his bike and then I just liked his moves. So we're boys now. It's like, like, I don't know how, like, I worry about that, like, heavily, but I also don't want to.
But you can't stop it.
You can't stop it, and I don't want to tell them that they can't do it. Do it,
They can hate on it a little bit.
Oh, they hated on us for doing what we did, so hell, I'm going to hate on.
Yeah, man, dude, it was a special time when in the morning you woke up and you're on the West Coast and you hit refresh on your browser, AOL, whatever, dial up, and you were on the Church of Choppers website and the blog, and who, Jeff Wright had multiple contributors, a bunch of sinners that were contributing to his blog, and maybe some guys that weren't sinners, that's their club. Jeff don't love me anymore, but I love Jeff. I love you, Jeff.
He's left me hanging twice now.
Hey, there's none cooler. He's up there with Max.
That's what I'm saying. I want to do it. So every time he's like, "Hey man, I'm down. I'll go sit at his bar."
And he pulls no punches.
And then he leaves me. He leaves me hanging out there.
Man, he gave me a tour of Iowa and took me to his bar, and it was pretty awesome, dude. Yeah. And he's a hustler, dude. He'd drive through town. He'd be like, "I own that. I used to own that. I own that. I used to own that.
Yeah.
I had a punk rock party place, and no one would ever deliver pizzas, so I just started a pizza place." Like, hustler, you know what I mean?
Hustler, yeah.
But man, it was exciting when you'd hit refresh and you'd see who dropped a photo.
Yeah.
Nelson, a couple guys in Japan, Jeff himself. One of my first recollections of Jeff was reading the Horse magazine, and he had built a shovel head, and he had, clutch tattooed on this arm and brake tattooed on this arm, and like, man, this guy's punk rock,
Yeah.
And, those were exciting times, I don't know if kids nowadays, and it's not for me to decide whatever. They don't have the attention span. This has fried their brain. Like my step kid told me, this has fried his brain. This is all he's got is swipe, swipe, swipe.
Yeah.
Man, when you do that and you download the photo so you can blow it up and it still be pixely, like, what are those foot controls? How did he make those? Is that comfortable? No, definitely not. Is that cool? Definitely cool. You know? Man, that was a special time.
So Irish Rich?
Absolutely.
So Irish Rich.
Triple OG.
Super cool. And we've got like this standing relationship where every time I come to Sturgis, we recap, hey, how's life been? Well, this is the second year I did a podcast at this last Sturgis, but the first year, like, dude, he was just dropping all, like, one of my favorite podcasts, right? Top 5. This year, I guess we're closer now, so he took me down in the basement to show me all the old Center stuff, and just, he's got a collection of, like, cool things, memorabilia, even just flyers, like for when the Centers DVD came out, just the flyers for that. And I got a couple, and like I cherish that type of shit, that old kind of stuff. And and I don't know, like him being able, I wonder what it's like for him. Maybe this is common for him, but like someone a little bit younger that's like stoked about the life that he lived, and then asking questions and interested in all that stuff. Cause you catch those old cats at the grocery store walking out. You say, "Oh, excuse me," and the next thing you know, you're in a 30-minute conversation about Vietnam or something like that. But because he was a biker, like, I want to know. I'm seeking him out to get the information and the just the sauce of what it was like, 70s, 80s, 90s, and how he got to where he's at, regardless of how much he's acquired, in life as far as like financial or whatever, but just the life he lived. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. When he tells you those stories, you probably realize, you know what? I'm kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
A little different spot on the space-time continuum.
Exactly.
But I'm chasing that same stoke that Rich and his guys were chasing. Mm-hmm. And it feels good when, like you said, you get invited to the basement, you get led in the back to look at the parts.
Yep.
They don't do that right the first time you walk in. I just moved to NorCal. I hit up one of the local motorcycle shops. He builds some pretty cool flat track bikes, which flat track bikes are like the ultimate in simplicity, which is very hard, as making a motorcycle to make it simple. You can make a motorcycle. It's hard to make it simple. Flat track, dude, there's no extra things on those things, which means it's hard, And I asked him, "Hey man, I do this little YouTube. You think we could talk about some of your bikes?" Like, nope. And I was like, okay, I will leave now. I respect that.
Yeah.
And I got to earn it. I'm gonna keep going over there.
Yeah, you earn it, right?
He's got some parts I'd like to purchase one day, but very cool guy. always grateful when those guys pass down knowledge or choose not to pass down knowledge, as the case may be. And that reminds us, every little kid that comes sniffing around, you don't got to tell him every little secret that you earned.
Yeah.
Let him figure it out. Don't deny him of that experience of figuring it out on his own. Like, his battery's going to rattle out on that FXR, if you don't put some padding in there or some kind of tie down.
Yeah.
Let him figure that out. You know what I mean? Let him figure it out. But I don't know. You learn that stuff hanging out and putting on miles. I'll change subjects real quick, and then I'll get you out of here because this is Jace Hudson. He's world famous podcaster from Texas, and he's got stuff to do, fish to fry, and autographs to sign, most likely. But this has been one of our longest, and I think already one of my most favorite podcasts. I have been interested in sitting down talking to you.
Nice.
Man, this weekend you came to our little Parts and Labor Motorcycle Expo at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, which we host. We've hosted there for the last 5 years. The Del Mar Fairgrounds, it's a super fancy place. They shouldn't let dirtbags like us in there. They do high dollar horse racing all summer. You go there, it's the finest trim you ever seen in your life with the most expensive motorcycle horses you ever seen in your life. Somehow they must be slow in January. They let us in. They let us do our little thing. What did you think about that? And I want you to give me the straight, like what was good, what was bad, and where can we improve things?
Well,
how did you end up there? They didn't want to let you in Paradise Roadshow. You ran out of fentanyl.
I didn't even know
what's going on.
I think that's the next level of chopperism or
okay. You're getting close, man. You're getting close.
Well, if they let me in, I'm not coming back. So I was just like, I would say this. I think that Gabe, again from Law Tiger San Diego, he said, hey, you should come out to this. And for me, it's always like in Dallas and Texas, it's like so close to the new year that it's hard to justify dropping all the money for Christmas and all that, and then getting out and then running across to California. But seeing how the weather was so beautiful, that area is so nice, staying at that hotel, the Hilton right there, and almost everybody that's vending there is also there. The hotel bar every night was like Network City, right? A lot of great conversations, a lot of great opportunities for a brand like myself to further deepen relationships and start new ones, right? The show itself, I spent so much time connecting with people. Again, the conversations might have started at the bar the night before, or they started there and ended at the bar. The look, the vibe, the difference from like a couple chopper dudes, couple performance guys, couple t-shirt brands, couple this, couple that. Like, I think it was a good balance of catch all be all. Maybe that's not the right word, but just like a good balance of everything. I have every intention of coming out next year. I don't really have a brand. We won't really sell anything, but I like to sell T-shirts in person, which is the worst business plan and thing ever. But for the time being, right now, a Fast Life T-shirt, if you ever see one on somebody, my hand gave it to him, and I like that. And I'm also not making money doing that shit. So, but I would like to come out there next year, and I want to drive my van with the chopper in the back. That's what all the cool kids do. Bring some stuff out. Probably spend a little bit longer here with my wife. Leave the van and the chopper out here for, a couple more weeks, and then fly back out for Chopper Fest and bring it home. Yeah. Try to catch a couple birds with one stone on that one. The bikes were all cool, man. Like everything from, the old flathead, I think that won. Yeah. To the drag bike. To anything that comes out of Saddleman is always absolutely Heat Pinter and, Fury and, those guys, Cut Rate. Dude, I was the Jam City Cycles dudes. I was nerding out on those bikes all weekend. And
flawless.
They don't miss, dude.
They don't miss.
Like
the whole crew.
And me and my crew used to be known for having some nice bikes and cruising around, but those dudes are on another level, and their FXRs are dialed. Their Softails are dialed. I'd like to see one of them do a bagger to see what their take is on that. Yeah. And I'm sure there's one of the works. If not, there's been one done. So those are rad dudes. And I barely got to meet them and know them, but big fan of those bikes.
Yeah. Jam City, that's the second year they came out. I never really heard of them until they came out last year. Right away, I was like, you guys got it, man.
They were thick.
You guys got it. They know when to stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They bring it up, but then they stop before it goes overboard. And that brown frame FXR with the green
Green,
paint.
yeah. And I haven't. I've been talking about this all weekend. I'm like really nerding out about green right now, and I've never owned a green bike, and I kind of want to try it. So I think that my Road Glide that I just picked up is going to end up going a shade of green.
It's a hard color to pull off, in my experience.
It is, and
You usually see it done the wrong way.
yeah, and that's why I like the challenge. I don't know if I'm going to hit it out of the park, but I'm going to do what I can. If it sucks, I'll sell the paint job, trade it for somebody else, and
Yeah, that's what swap meets are for.
yeah. So, but no, it was a great show, man. I think that you guys got something good going on. To everybody out there listening, I think it's important that, especially if it's within driving distance, riding distance, or whatever, to come and support motorcycle events, shows, especially when they're indoor, because that's a very, very rare thing this day and age. I got lucky. I got to go to things like Easy Rider shows. I guess you could say IMS shows too. Had a little fun thing for a while, but being able to be inside regardless of what the weather is and be around all your dudes on motorcycles, seeing all the brands, supporting those brands, like that's how this industry continues to go and this culture continues to go. Motorcycling isn't done on your phone. You know what I mean? It's just where you find out where we're meeting, and then you got to go.
I like that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to circle the wagons for kids, young brands. I don't know.
It's opportunity, man.
I don't know if they think they need it or not. It's cool if they don't. I don't want to be the old guy telling you guys how to party, but as you mentioned, some of those reasons, for coming out is not just look at motorcycles, but connect with people, see what everybody else is doing, see what's working, see what's not working, whether you intend to make a living in this industry or not. I recommend you don't. There's not a great living to be made, but if and when you end up at the pearly gates or down below, you might have a cool story to tell, and for a guy like me that I didn't have a lot of options growing up, for work, I was going to be a dumb dick construction guy like the neighbor, or a washed up realtor like my mom, or a tired truck driver like my dad. Motorcycles.
All sick careers, by the way.
Yeah, super
if
sick.
If you got the stones for them.
Super sick if you got the stones. But man, I like the motorcycle thing. I like the people. It's the people, and Matt Davis, who was one of the founders of Dice before he died, he texted me and he said motorcycles are cool, but it's the people that we've met because of them that really rule. And that ended up being it, because the motorcycle people, typically, not every single one, every single time, man, they tell you like it is, and to me, life is short. I enjoy hanging out with people that give it to me straight, man. I'm out of time already, dude. I'm already behind, I don't have a lot of time left, and I want to just get to the nitty gritty. Are we going to be friends or not? It's cool either way. Then we can get on to the next thing, and I don't want to waste time. And I like motorcycle guys. I think a lot of them live by that ethos, that it's fun to bullshit for a minute, but let's get out and ride.
Yeah.
And we try to circle the wagons. This is an industry trade show is what we're shooting for. But most of our events are things, meet us in Baja, dude. You got to ride your bike. Can't trailer it. You got to meet us there. And you might have to trailer at home, when things don't work out. But meet us out there, and meet us in Kernville, meet us in the Pacific Northwest. We're going to be up by his dad's house partying this year out there, and that'll be a beautiful place for everyone to ride out to. And when you do those kind of deals, instead of just standing in the parking lot, you get a little bit more of the real guy. And I'm a fan of the real guy. It's a little bit more fun.
Well, you said it. I think that people don't want to admit it, but it's the relationships and people that you meet along the way that will really carry this experience out longer. There's probably some psycho out there that has no friends in motorcycles and just keeps on doing it. But I do it for accountability. Like people that I like, I'm inspired by, friends that I meet, youngsters that meet me that want to do what I'm doing. Like it keeps me wanting to do it too. You know what I mean? Other people's enthusiasm is a good way to keep me excited whenever my enthusiasm's down on stuff, And when you ride the bikes, when you get out and ride them, you always remember why you're on bikes, as opposed to if you're just in the shop, you never go to the trade show and crack open a beer or, a liquid death. If you don't go to those things, then you forget that these things can be very stressful, and they could be the bane of your existence if you don't go out on them. You know what I mean? And do stuff on them, around them, with the people that are also on them. And when you do, I think it'll work out. But if not, you end up getting a speedboat. You don't go to trade events. You just build bikes or make parts because that's your job, and then you spend all your money out trophy trucks or whatever the hell else rich people do after they've done a great success on their motorcycle business. I don't know.
Man, the cranky old motorcycle guy is like proverb, you know what I mean? And it's something that I'm very aware of that I want to avoid, you know. And a lot of times I'll have, you know, I had Hot Dog on here, and the first question I asked him is, how have you not become cranky old motorcycle guy? Because you've seen it all twice now.
Yeah.
You know, twice.
The whole West Coast thing, and then his own time afterwards. You know?
And he's like, man, I keep it fun. You know, I keep it fun. I do fun stuff. And I like you, Jace, because I see you, you know, you don't know, but I'm watching you this weekend. Younger guys are coming to talk to you, and you're giving them the time of day. You're telling them some of your experience, and you're helping steer them, you know. And whether you know it or not, you know, there are some guys that are aware that you're a little bit of an OG in the FXR thing and the paint game as well. We didn't really even talk too much about FXRs, which was cool with me. You know what I mean? Yeah. We talked a little bit more about your paint and your podcasting and some of your trips and your travels, which that's what I love, you know, the trips and the travels. And but I think some of those kids were interested in hearing some more here, long format. And again, I saw you being nice to them at the event. And yeah, man, we all remember that cranky dick that wouldn't give us the time of day. Yeah. You know, I want to try real hard not to be like that. I love to give young kids a snarky answer out the gate and see if they bounce. Yeah, if they do, cool. If you stick around or you shoot it back, we're exactly. Bros. You know what I mean? And then we can get down.
You got to have
business.
Thick skin to be here, man.
Yeah, man, I love it. Don't be. Rico always says, don't be surprised when motorcycle guys act like motorcycle guys. You know, like
it's not that we're. I don't think it's because we're bad people or mean you harm. I think that we just want to. We don't want a pretentious little child, you know, that expects things. We want people that can handle it, dish it back, or learn to dish it back, or take it and chill. You know, like just I don't know. I don't want to break your soul down, but I also don't want to hand you the keys to something that I think is the best thing in the world. Yeah. You know, I want you to appreciate this, and if we got to call you derogatory names for a while till you earn a real nickname, bro, I had to go through it too, man. Yeah, I'm into it. Bring gatekeeping back. Make gatekeeping good again.
Yeah, let's get that. Jace Hudson, we appreciate your time here at the Parts and Labor Motorcycle Podcast. Thanks for coming out, making the trip. I hope to see you at the El Diablo run, because kind of like raising a kid, you know, it's like I've experienced this event every which way possible. I've ridden it. I've put it on for a long time now with the blessings from my boss. I love Baja. Mm-hmm. Almost as much as me enjoying it is when I see the Baja cherry get popped. Yeah. And you'd come and tell me, dude, I ran out of gas and this guy stopped and he gave me gas, but it wasn't gas. And I put it in my bike and now my bike won't run. I love all of it, dude. You know, or we got pulled over or we got a flat tire. I love all of it, you know. And so I really hope that you and some of your boys show up. Man, I know it's damn near impossible, but shout out if FXR Mike would come out. That would be the winningest EDR of all time. That guy's a triple OG, humble, talented, knowledgeable, and you know, I've been on little just DMs with him, you know, for a long time, and I haven't talked to him in a minute, but like guys like that, I hope you bring out, you know, so they can share some of that stoked. And I guarantee you, if you come, we will send you home with a story.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Jason.
it, man.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Parts and Labor Podcast, brought to you by Biltwell. You got any feedback? You got any questions? Send us a voice recording or an email at pod@biltwellinc.com. That's pod@biltwellinc.com.